function as a quick recap of the short run and the long run equilibria in perfect competition. We need to talk about what short run and long run mean. The term short run refers to the time in which only variable inputs or costs may be changed. Remember, anytime that output increases, variable costs will also increase because variable costs are the costs associated with inputs that change according to the amount of output that we achieve. The long run, on the other hand, is a period of time in which both variable and fixed inputs or costs can change. So you've entered the long run anytime you change a fixed cost or add a new fixed input or change a fixed input. Examples would be you expand your factory, you create a new assembly line, you retool your factory as it exists, you open a new shop, you close a shop. Any of that would be a change in a fixed cost. Fixed costs are those costs that don't change no matter how much we produce. It's the cost that we have to incur just because we have a business. Okay, in the long run, all of our costs become variable. So as time goes on, all costs become variable. In the short run, a firm that's in perfect competition can compete in one of three states. It can compete, or it can operate in one of three states. It can operate at a loss, and it will do that if the price is greater than or equal to average variable cost, but less than average total cost. It can operate at an economic profit if the price is greater than the average total cost, or it can operate at a normal profit, and that occurs if the price is equal to average total cost. Normal cost is going to be the break-even point for our competitor. In the long run, our firm is only going to be able to operate at a normal profit, and the reason has to do with the characteristics of a perfect competitor. Remember that a perfect competitor sells perfectly identical products to all of its competitors. So there is no way for you as a perfect competitor to convince the public that your product is somehow better than your competitor's product. In addition, there are no barriers to entry into this market, and there are no barriers to exit. So it's very easy for competitors to drop in or drop out. If you're operating at a loss, the moment that you have to enter the long run, you can no longer cover your fixed costs, and it's time to drop out. If you're operating at a profit, well, that's going to attract new competitors because there is absolutely nothing that you can do to keep them out of your market. The market and the firm have a close relationship to one another because, remember, the market is made up of hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of individual perfect competitors. So here in the market, for whatever this item is, we have a downward sloping demand curve. We know that our thousands or hundreds of thousands of consumers are going to be following the rules that we have already established for demand. That is that when the price in the market increases, they will buy less overall of this product. And when the price in the market decreases, they will buy more of this product overall. It follows the rules of supply and demand. But our perfect competitor is a price taker. So our perfect competitor's demand curve will not be the market curve. It will be established by the price in the market. In order to establish a price in the market, however, we need a supply curve. And the supply curve is established by the firm. The firm's supply curve is established by the marginal cost curves of all the individual firms added up horizontally. That is, at a price of $1, how much would firm 1 supply, added to how much firm 2 would supply, added to firm 3, added to firm 4, then at a price of $2, how much would firm 1 supply, how much would firm 2 supply. We add them up and we determine how much the market would actually supply at each and every price, and that's going to give us our market supply curve. Now remember that no firm will produce below the shutdown point, and the shutdown point is located right here, where our marginal cost is equal to our average variable cost. No firm will choose to produce below the shutdown point. So that shutdown point is absolutely crucial for establishing the bottom part of our supply curve for the industry. Temporarily taking out the shutdown point here. Redrawing my curves. Well, that should be going through, there we go. Lowest point of ABC. So this marginal cost curve is now going to establish the supply curve. And the way you do this is you kind of trace it on over at about the same level where it crosses ABC. And then you just try to draw it about the same slope, same shape. And that becomes your market supply curve. Now, the firm establishes the supply curve for the market, but the market establishes the demand curve for the firm. And it does that because what happens here is that our firm is going to have to take the price that the market sets, and it can sell as many items as it wishes to at that price. So once we have both the supply and the demand for the market, we can establish the demand curve for the firm. Once again, the firm sets the supply curve for the market, and the market sets the demand curve for the firm. So here we have the equilibrium price in the market, which becomes the demand curve for the firm. The intersection of marginal cost and the demand curve, which is also the marginal revenue curve, will establish the output for the firm. We're going to call this Q sub F. We also have an output for the market. This is the output of all of the firms added together, again, summing it horizontally. So this would be quantity for the market. So you need to pay attention, if you're doing both of these graphs side by side, to which quantity or which output you're talking about. Are you talking about the market equilibrium quantity, or are you talking about the firm's quantity? We could also say that this is the price in the market, and this is the price that the firm accepts. You'll notice that they are identical. Our firm here is earning an economic profit. And we know this because at the quantity Q, our price is higher. Oh, wait a minute, we're missing something. Never mind. Strike that, reverse it. We don't know whether this firm is earning a profit. We're missing something. We're missing average total cost. We do know that this firm can operate because our price is higher than its average variable cost at the quantity of output. And therefore, this firm is operating in a situation where it's able to cover all of its variable costs. We don't know yet whether it covers all of its total costs. In order to know that, we need another curve, and that curve will be the average total cost. So here we have a firm and a market. We have prices, we have quantities. We know that the supply curve is here, the demand curve is here. You know, we have a marginal cost curve. We know that we have an average variable cost curve. It's probably down here someplace. Marginal cost goes through the lowest point of ABC. We also have an average total cost curve. And now we can tell whether this firm is operating at a profit. In this case, the price, as we trace it across, this nice yellow line here, is both the price in the market and it is the price, is the demand curve and the marginal revenue for the firm. The firm is going to choose to produce at the place where marginal cost and marginal revenue are equal, so they'll produce at the place here. And this firm is, in fact, earning a profit. And we can tell this because at Q, our average total cost is below our price. And this rectangle, which I've just outlined in blue, will be the area of profit. Price minus average total cost multiplied by the quantity. This profit is going to attract new competitors. And it will attract new competitors and shift the supply curve to the right. When the supply curve moves to the right, we know that the price is going to drop. And it's going to need to drop until it reaches a point where there is no longer an economic profit. And that's going to occur at this location right here, where our price is exactly equal to our average total cost is equal to our marginal cost is equal to the marginal revenue. So at that point, that will have to be the new equilibrium price. I'm trying to draw this nice and straight across and failing miserably. Our price will have to decrease. It will erase all the existing profit. We'll no longer have this nice blue area. But you now know that your new supply curve has to go through this point. You'll also note that your individual firm's quantity has dropped, but the quantity produced in the market has risen. So we have more firms, each producing less stuff. The amount of product in the market quantity, will be equal to, assuming that we have perfectly identical firms, the number of producers times each firm's individual output. Or alternatively, we would add together all of the output for all of the firms at that price. So you could find the number of producers in the market by dividing the market quantity by the quantity produced by each firm. We just discussed what would happen if the firms in the market were running a profit. We would attract new competitors. That would drive the price down. We'd have more firms, but each firm would end up producing less. Well, what happens if you have a situation where you've got firms running a loss? And that's what this graph is all about. So we add in the market price, and that market price becomes the demand curve and the marginal revenue curve for this firm. Oh, that's QM and QF. So this firm is losing money on its variable costs, but it is still eating into its fixed costs, it would continue to operate because it can cover all of its variable costs, even if it can't cover all of its fixed costs, but it can only operate in the short run. And as soon as firms begin to enter the long run, they'll begin to drop out because they can't cover the new long run. The area of our particular loss is going to be within the rectangle that I just outlined. Now, as firms drop out, the number of suppliers in this market will decrease, and that will cause our supply curve to shift to the left. And when supply curve shifts to the left, they raise the price in the market and they decrease the quantity. It's going to have to shift to a point where we are going to be at the place where, oh dear. Yeah, that's ATC. There we go. Where our marginal cost is equal to our average total cost. And that's going to be this point here. So we know that the new price has to go through this point. So the new price will have to be here. I know that yellow is a little hard to see, but go with me. That means the new supply curve must go through this place where the new price intersects with the old demand curve. When this happens, you'll notice that the quantity in the market will decrease. The price in the market will increase. But here over in the firm, when that price rises, the place where price and marginal cost, the place where price, which is equal to marginal revenue, crosses marginal cost, is going to shift to the right, and that means that we'll have a new output for the firm. Each firm will be producing more, but there will be fewer firms. Once again, the market quantity is going to be equal to the individual firm quantities multiplied by the number of firms. And you can find out how many firms are in the market by dividing the market quantity by the individual firm quantity. Again, this assumes that all firms are perfectly identical. All firms are not perfectly identical. All bets are off. We're always trying to move to that equilibrium. So one last thing that you need to consider is that prices could change out in the market and costs could change. Costs could change for our competitors. So if prices change in the market, they may create or destroy an existing situation. So here we have a market that's operating. We don't have a price yet. We have a demand curve. If we are in long-run equilibrium, this is what our price needs to be. Our supply curve would have to go through here. Price, quantity, price, quantity, quantity for the firm, because that's where price and marginal cost intersect. And remember, our price is equal to our marginal revenue and also equal to our average revenue. This is the price accepted by the firm, the price set by the market quantity. Well, what if something happens out there that our firm has no control over whatsoever? What if all of a sudden this good becomes far more popular and the demand curve shifts? Well, that's going to change the price, and it's going to take us from being in equilibrium and operating at normal profits to suddenly operating at an economic profit, and that will drive additional firms into the market. And then from there on, you just analyze it as a situation in which firms are earning an economic profit. Similarly, we could have a situation in which demand decreases or supply increases for reasons beyond the firm's control. If something happens in the market, it will affect the firm. On the other hand, we could also have a situation in which the firm's costs change. So I'm just going to draw the firm. If something happens, so marginal cost here, quantity, price. We have our existing demand equals marginal revenue. We have a situation in which our average total costs have us in equilibrium. I know they're not exactly touching, but I meant for them to be. And our average variable costs, of course, would be below average total cost. What happens if our costs increase? Well, in that case, everything just shifts up by the same distance. And you repeat your usual analysis. What if the costs decrease? You get new technology. Well, then we shifted down. Everything shifting down by the same amount. Marginal cost shifting down. Average total cost also shifting down. These are all possibilities that could take us out of equilibrium, and then either new competitors will enter if there's a profit, or existing competitors will leave if there's a loss. Either way, we'll end up back at equilibrium eventually. Hope this was helpful.